He challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn and engagement, being the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome that?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro is live on air.
Welcome, everybody, to the Master Connector Show. I'm Rob Genovesi. Get a little feedback there. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe one of you guys can mute in the meantime. But I'm Rob Genovesi, and I'm proud to be the co-host of the Master Connector Show here with my buddy Steve Spiro. And Steve and I go way back. We are 2 introverted guys, former shy guys, turned connectors. And now Steve has probably been one of the most connecting people I have ever met in my life. He and I go way back, like I said, and Steve wasn't used to meeting people. But then Steve learned how to do something that most people wish they could do, which is talk to anybody, anywhere, anytime, regardless of their status, station in life, their career, title, anything. He could be anywhere in the world, in any place. It could be a store, a gas station. It could be at a barbecue. It doesn't matter. Steve is out making friends. And I promise you, Steve meets more new people in 1 week than most people meet in a whole year of their life as an adult. So I am so proud to be part of this show. Look forward to talking with our guest today, but please help me welcome to the show the Master Connector himself, Mr. Steve Spiro.
Well, I appreciate that, Rob G. And we do go back a long time, and it's been a fun journey. We've seen each other grow big time, and it's just been a blast here. So, and Rob, you've been an incredible resource and friend in my life, and excited to see what you're doing in the branding world. But and a huge networker. I've seen you also do a lot of public speaking on the branding world. So, but it's exciting. Anyway, what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And I have a question for you guys. Have you ever cheated at poker? But anyway, one of my favorite movies is a movie called 21. And it's about, I think, 6 MIT students who become trained to count cards, and they're experts at that. And they took their prowess to the casinos, and they won millions of dollars. And so today's topic is going to be networking equals cheating at poker. Now, to be honest with you, I have no idea what that means. When Chris suggested that, he threw that title out, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds catchy. It sounds pretty cool, but I really didn't think much about it, or kind of didn't have a clue about what it might be about, but it sounded intriguing. And everyone I've told about, hey, today's topic is going to be, network equals cheating at poker. You get a laugh, you get, wow, that's pretty cool. But anyway, so here's what I could tell you. I've been at networking events, and I've counted the cards that I've received. Never the ones I gave. I'll be honest with you. It was always the ones that I got, and I kind of used it as a measuring stick to a successful outing that I had. But I don't think that's what we're going to be talking about today, right? You're going to hear a real fresh perspective on networking, and you're going to learn how to overcome the fear of meeting people, right? Rob had alluded to it, right? I meet, and you heard on the opening video, 3 strangers every day. I mean, at minimum, and whether that be out and about or on LinkedIn. But we're going to get a perspective and on how to create winning collaborations and partnerships as it relates through networking, right? And it's true that once I mastered networking and connecting, it kind of became an easy win for me, okay? And in a sense, kind of cheating at poker. So actually, I do kind of understand, I think, what the topic title is referring to. But as we get into this topic and we get to speak with Chris, we're going to get more on that as well. So if you're ready for my man, who I'm so blessed, he's now my co-host, Mr. Rob G, to introduce our amazing guest. I want you to go into the comments right now. Remember, we're LinkedIn participants. We're not LinkedIn lurkers. So get in there. We want your feedback. We want to know where you're tuning in from. So type in, the city and state or country you're from. Get in, you can tell people what you do, but let's get in there. Type in let's go, hashtag let's go. And by the way, great opportunity for us to connect with each other. So as you're in the comments, remember, we only get a notice of, how many people are watching. We don't know who you are. So unless you're in the comments, we're not really knowing that. So let's go. Let's put in let's go. And let's get Mr. Robbie G to bring up Chris.
All right. Thanks, Steve. And so, we are very fortunate to have with us today Mr. Chris Borja. Now, for the first 37 years of his life, Chris suffered from extreme shyness. I can relate, introversion, totally, and a fear of social settings. I was there. Now that he's overcome those challenges, Chris is on a mission to create better networkers, stronger businesses, and connected communities worldwide. He's founder of Become a Better Networker, the Connected Networking Group, Networking Breakthrough Academy, and CEO of Borja Virtual Conferences and Events. He's the author of the best-selling book, Networking Essentials for Success, a 7-step journey to achieve your goals through authentic relationships and connected communities. Chris's presentations are highly interactive and provide an experience that'll change your perspective on networking, increase your business growth, and improve the relationships in all areas of your life. Please help me welcome to the stage and the Master Connector Show, Mr. Chris Borja. Welcome, Chris.
Oh, thanks for having me as a guest. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, Chris, it's so cool to see you again. I know we had a little bit of technical challenges early on, but we're good to go. And that's the power of live broadcast, right? So understand this, community, right? You're not listening to a pre-recorded podcast. This is live TV, right? And so anything can happen on live TV. So it's pretty cool. It's exciting, right? Every Wednesday afternoon, I get a real rush knowing that I don't have to, but I get to do the show. It's really, really amazing. So, but Chris, great having you on here. We're blessed, and we want to definitely dig into some topics here and some titles, some particular things here. So first thing I'd like you to do, community, type in hashtag poker, right in the comments there. And so let's dig right into it, right? And you could throw a little bit of your backstory if you want, Chris, but what does cheating at poker have to do with networking? I want to hear your perspective. You heard my stinking perspective, but I want to hear your perspective on that. Let's go with that.
Yep, awesome. So I will start with a little bit of background, and I think it's pretty cool that we have 3 introverts up here on a show about networking and connecting. But I was an extremely shy person growing up, very self-conscious. It carried all the way through into my adult life to where I was the best man at my best friend's wedding. And from the time he asked me, all I could think about was doing the speech, was how nervous I was. And we were at the reception with about 600 people in attendance. And it was the time for the best man to stand up, give the speech. And I never stood up. So his cousin had to stand up and give the speech for me. And the reason I share that is because Steve, Rob, as you could probably relate as well, after you overcome that fear and you learn how to truly connect with people, sometimes people don't realize how much we've been through and how much we had that fear and anxiety. So that was an extreme example. And then discovered the world of networking. And after discovering the world of networking, I found a different way to do business that was a lot different from what everyone else was doing with the traditional prospecting. And I quickly saw that networking is not the same as prospecting. But when I first started networking at networking events, what I was really doing wasn't networking. What I was really doing was I was prospecting at a networking event. I was going because I saw a lot of people there. I figured I could, hand out a lot of my business cards. I could collect a lot of cards. I can get their names. I can set up an appointment. But I found that it just wasn't really working. I wasn't getting a lot of appointments. And when I did, it was kind of awkward because I was always thinking about, how do I switch the conversation over to talk about my business? And what if they didn't ask me? And how do I kind of get that integrated into it? Now, after a year of networking, then I started my own group. And that group has over 9,500 members now. And then a year after starting the group, realized that people just never learned how to network. I recently did a keynote in front of an audience of 200 people. And literally no one there had ever taken a class on networking. So networking is something that we're all expected to know how to do as adults, especially in the business world. but few, if any, ever had any formal training on the topic of networking. So I started training in about 2014, and then wrote the book just this last March, launched it this last March, 5 years in the making. And one of the analogies I like to share in helping people with the mindset of what proper networking is the game of poker. And in the traditional game of poker, you imagine a table of people sitting across from each other, everyone holding their cards close to them and not wanting to, tip anybody off of whether they have good or bad cards. And think about what that looks like in the business world, that oftentimes we don't really let people know. You say, hey, how's business? Oh, it's booming. Everything is awesome. When in reality, it might not really be that awesome, or there's a lot of challenges that we're facing behind the scenes. Or there's other times we might play it down out of fear of what people might think of us, or we don't, we might downplay some of our success as well, which again is the same as in the game of poker. But at this table, we all are dealt our cards, and we've all heard the saying that you got to play the hand that you're dealt, which is true in many aspects of life. However, in this game of poker, we're playing against each other, and we don't really have the opportunity to work together in the traditional game. We're oftentimes bluffing, and in business that happens very often. So let's just say Rob, we're the three of us, and plus maybe 2-3 more sitting at the table with us. I say, Rob, let me see your cards. And if I ask Rob to see his cards, he's going to hold them even closer and probably lean back like this, not wanting me to see, because I'm trying to get an advantage. So in business, when we ask people first, that's usually their reaction, is that they kind of lean away from us if we're asking for something first. So how do we get people to lean in? So instead of asking for something, what if we offered something? What if I said, Rob, do you need any of these cards? And I hold these up. Rob, do you need any of these cards right here? And now Rob's leaning in and taking a look. So number one, he's leaning in. He might ask for card. Maybe he wants a 2 and a 3. Like, out of these cards, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing mean. He has lowest cards in the whole deck. I don't even know why you want them, but if you need them, sure, you can have them. But I don't realize that Rob already has a 4, 5, and 6, and my 2 and 3 now gives him a straight. He has a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's improved his hand. Rob now needs to get rid of a couple cards. He throws a couple of hearts, and he doesn't know that I have 3 hearts and now I have a flush. So simply by this collaboration between us, number one, getting him to lean in, and secondly, with a collaboration between us, we both improved our hands. Now, one of us might have a higher hand than the other, but the name of the game is to improve what we started from. So instead of playing the hand that we're dealt, we now get to collaborate and work together. So guess what happens at this table with Rob and myself? Guess what happened? Guess who's going to win the majority of the hands at this table if Rob and I are doing this and cheating at poker? But really, we're going to call it collaborating because we're networkers. So we're collaborating, but we're cheating at poker. But then somebody else over here, we have, I see Parker was out there, and Parker, I see, was in the audience. So Parker says, you guys keep winning. Why are you winning? I said, well, we're changing cards. Now Parker's like, I want in. Whatever you guys are doing, I want in. Now, guess what? Do Rob and I say, no, Parker, you can't join? We got a good thing going? No, we actually want Parker to join us, because with Parker joining our team, we actually have more resources and our hands can be even higher. Now, if the 3 of us are winning, everyone at the table is pretty much left out. They're all going to want in. Again, it's to our best interest to let everyone in, because the more people that join our game, the more resources we have, which is to me, the definition of networking is really building relationships so we can share resources and create a win-win situation. So it's very simple. Relationship, share resources, create a win-win. So now our whole table is doing this. What happens is that we end up changing the game at our table. There might be tons of other tables of people playing poker. However, our table is going to produce the highest hands out of everyone, out of all the other tables that might be in this casino or this game night or whatever it happens to be, simply because we're collaborating. So that's how networking is like cheating at poker. And there's a lot of parallels between the game of poker and real life. And now we get to play a game that's a lot more open. And think about that business analogy where, we might not share things that aren't going well. Well, how can people help us if we don't feel comfortable sharing it? So it's up to us to create that trust, that credibility, create an environment to where people can open up. And it starts with us opening up and starting and being the catalyst and being the spark And then we open it up for other people to be open as well, so we can support and help one another.
I get the concept itself, but now I need you to, because this dyslexic brain needs things distilled down into simplicity. So give me an example, right? Because I get the poker example with cards, and if I need a 3 and a 2, or hearts, whatever. I get that. How does that relate? Give me one example of how that relates in the real world, specifically. Maybe one example, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So in the real world, literally anyone that you talk to, anyone that you run across, everyone has a need. No matter what level of business they're at, everyone has a need. And networking is basically a bridge, and it's the fastest way between where somebody is and where their goals are. So usually what keeps somebody from their goals are usually the same things. Oftentimes it's either they don't have enough time, they don't have the knowledge of how to do something, they don't have the finances to do something, they don't have the skills or knowledge to do something. And we can get those things with time if we're resourceful enough. However, it's so much faster if we could connect with a person. So for example, if we have a project, but we don't have the funding or the finances to do it, it'll take us a while to save up enough money to fund that project. Or can we build a relationship with somebody that does have the funding, that does have the finances, that can instantly bridge the gap? The same thing with knowledge. It could take us a while to learn how to do something. If we're resourceful, we could learn to fix a car, we could learn to do a home repair, or we could find somebody that already knows how to do that and instantly fill the gap. So whatever is missing, anything that's lacking, a person can fill it. Even if we're super busy, we don't have time, could a person fill the gap? If we just simply don't have enough time to accomplish things, we can find somebody who does have the time to be able to fill the gap. So hopefully that helps as far as what the way it applies.
I'm still in the conceptual realm. I need you to give me, again, think of me, I have a 4-year-old, right? A 6-year-old, right? Help me break. So give me an example. You're at a networking event. I get the idea. You're at a poker game at a table, but give me the scenario in a networking event, how you're taking this concept. Like, are you going up to somebody and say, because it's what I first thought when you said it, you got a stack of cards from people and you say, hey, which card do you want? I know that's not what you mean, but give me something tangible. You're at a network. You're not typically sitting at a table, right? You're walking around mingling. You said no one wants to give you a card. So you got to add value. Explain to me a tangible example of how you're adding value at that networking event that's different than what normally people do.
Yeah.
Please.
So when you're at an event, oftentimes people are there just like I was in the beginning, looking for a prospect, looking for a sale. And if everyone had that same mindset, it really wouldn't be that productive. So how do we provide value? Initially, I thought that the value I provided was through the service. Like if anybody asked me, Chris, what's the value you provide the marketplace? I would have said, because I sell XYZ product and I help people in this way. That the I help statement, the value proposition statement, that's what I would have said, because I didn't really understand how to add value to other people. I didn't realize that value is added through resources and knowledge and connections that we can make. And if you look at it, statistically speaking, out of 100 people you talk to, there's very few that would actually be a potential customer or client. And most people will find convenient ways to kind of sift and sort and find ways to reject. So for example, let me use a realtor, for example, like hopefully this is getting towards a real life example. So a realtor, for example, if I'm a realtor, I walk into a room and my goal is to help somebody buy or sell a home. That's how I make my money as a realtor. If I go to everyone in the room and ask it, hey, you looking to buy or sell a house? You looking to buy or sell a house? And I talk to everybody in the room, most people will probably say no. And so if I think that's the only value is somebody who's a customer, I'm missing out. When just one question away or actually one contact away is where that potentially $1 million house is, or the big deal, or even bigger, a collaborative partner, maybe a loan officer that's like, hey, I'm looking for somebody. I get these people pre-qualified. I'm looking for somebody to help them get into a home in this challenging market, create a friendship, a relationship, to where now that's an ongoing business. Instead of finding a client, we're now finding a connector to multiple clients, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm still not getting it, but it's okay. We'll keep moving on. Rob, you're on mute, sir, I think.
There's one thing you said in there, Chris. in the beginning when you said, instead of holding your cards close to you, you're going, hey, anything you need here. And immediately I thought about a scenario that I was in while networking, because a lot of people, they're sour on networking because they have this visual of them going into a room and having to meet somebody to sell something. And that's like their concept of networking.
Yeah.
And what I hear you saying is the concept of networking is really about what can we do together that adds some sort of value, that creates value where there wasn't before. And it may be a sell, but it may be not. I remember I was meeting with an attorney one time. And it wasn't like I was in the market for an attorney, and he wasn't in the market for brand strategy. He was fine doing what he was doing, but at the end of it, um, and now I know everybody wants a referral. That's a given. So what I asked him was, I said, so tell me something. I said, what do you need right now? What's stopping you from moving forward? Which is, to me, a much better question. He goes, now that you mention it, I really need to do some marketing for the law firm, and it's not my thing. And I said, I can connect you with somebody. I connected him because I know somebody who runs a marketing firm specifically for attorneys. And I connected them and I solved his problem like that. Now, how valuable am I to him because I helped him solve a problem? Now, no, I didn't hire him, but I added value in a way that through networking, it solved the problem. And I think a lot of people don't think about networking in terms of what problem do you have that can be solved through a contact that you know or somebody may know.
Yeah, I'll chime in, and thank you, Rob. Maybe helping me bridge the gap here. It sounds like it's mindset, and I'm looking. I guess I was looking for tangible technique, if you will, because I'm a very cut and dry kind of guy. But yeah. I mean, we talk about this a lot, right? One of the 4 pillars of the show is being a go-giver, right? Being others focused and looking to serve and be a blessing to other people. So to me, what I'm getting from this is you're just going in there with that mentality. One of the things that I do in networking events is I'm focused on the other person. I'm breaking the ice and however you can. And a networking event, it's easy because you're there for networking. But if it's out and about in the community, I'm just saying something to start a conversation. And then I like to ask, where you're from. I might get into what do you do? And, there's layers in that, in those different topics, right? From the breaking of the ice, if you're talking about whatever, maybe somebody's tie or somebody's t-shirt or hat. Typically at a networking event, they probably don't have a t-shirt or tie or a t-shirt or hat, unless they're Rob G, because Rob doesn't go in networking events with ties. No, never. But so it's break the ice. You can go in layers in that. And I think what happens is, for me, once you've started to, get a better feel for somebody, then you start to hear some of their challenges. And yes, in my whether I'm able to do it at a networking event or on the follow-up call, I'm always thinking, yes, what can I do to add value? What can I do to be a blessing? Who can I connect them with? What group of people can I connect them with? Is there some book or podcast that I can get them connected with so that it could add value for them? So I think that's kind of what I'm getting from what you're saying. But I do want to move on because, for some people, networking is extremely fearful. So I want you to type into #fear and what are strategies, and perhaps it's the mindset stuff, a little bit of mind tricking yourself, right? Jedi mind tricks on yourself, right? But what strategies can individuals employ to conquer the fear of initiating conversation and building meaningful connections in the professional realm, obviously?
Yeah, it really is just focus, like you said, it's focusing on the other person, because oftentimes if we're thinking about ourselves and other people are doing the same thing, there's not really much of a connection there. But the other thing is at a networking event, it's traditional for us to start with name, rank, and serial number. What's your name and what do you do? And that's a great place to start because it's what people expect. However, it's not a great place to finish because people can only make so much of a connection on the professional side of it as far as professions and what our roles are. But there's tons of things that people will connect with on a personal level. And once we can get it to that point, so as Steve mentioned, is that starting to get to know the person, easy transition that kind of fits is location. I think location is a great way because it's kind of awkward to just start asking somebody about if they have pets or if they have family. That's kind of maybe a little bit too personal to start. But I think location is a great place to start transitioning from work to personal. Because if you ask them where's your office at, or do you live close to your office, or how long have you been in the Columbus market or whatever city that you happen to be in? Oh, where did you move from, or how long have you been? So all of those things starts to open up a little bit more personal, and you don't need to go super deep into personal, but anything to start finding connection points is super valuable, because then you become real people. And when we talk about collaborating, that's where most people miss the boat, is because they haven't been taught or never really understand the concept of getting to know the person. Because in sales training, we're often taught a certain set of skills to be able to just get to the sales appointment. So usually in sales training, they teach us to build relationships so we can get to a sales appointment. To me, from a networking perspective, we get to know people because we really actually care about that person. And one of the activities we love doing at our events is we do a segment to where we get people to know each other, where they would traditionally say, "What's your name and what do you do?" We specifically say you are not allowed to talk about work for this particular segment of the event. So you'll have whatever time we give them, depending on the size of the group. Let's say we give them 5 minutes to be able to talk. You can't talk any business. You could talk anything at all. You can talk about pets, hobbies, activities, anything that's interesting to happen to you, something on your bucket list, literally anything else besides work. And in that 5 minutes, most people are surprised at how fast they're able to build a connection and a relationship. Whereas normally people think that networking takes a long time, and that's why they don't do it, because they think networking takes too long. I could have called like 50 people in this amount of time that we're at this meeting. But how many conversations did you have? How many relationships and friendships do you have to where if you picked up the phone and called them, they would answer? If you left them a voicemail, they would return it. If you sent them an email, they would reply. And most people are looking at strictly numbers because it might fit their KPIs, but they're not dealing with people as people. They're not treating people as commodities.
I love it. Yeah, and that's great. And you mentioned Parker, right? So Parker and I know each other through LinkedIn. We started doing some collaboration, and I don't know, within 3 to 6 months, I was at his place. I got to meet his now wife, fiance, right? I mean, so you if you have the ability to take a relationship from this sort of outside, kind of, barely know each other basis at a networking to a real relationship, that's truly connecting. And that's why I personally like the phrase connecting versus networking, because networking has this transactional affiliation. Now, obviously, Chris, you're here to change that perception by what you're teaching and what you're doing, obviously, but I think people relate, I think, better to connecting, and that's truly what the essence of it's about. So, but we're starting to wind down here. We're getting, it's amazing. This show is flying through, but I want to just maybe give, if you can, let's talk about method, right? Hashtag method community. And we'll just walk us through real quick as we're winding down here, the framework or method for fostering productive partnerships that lead to shared success and growth. Give us a couple of maybe methods, if you will, some tangible things. Sounds like that's a harder question for you. You're a big picture guy, and I like it, but maybe we can get a little more tangible here.
Yeah. So a lot of people understand that they might understand that they want to create partnerships. Some people maybe not have even gotten to that point yet. They're just trying to get their next sale. But there's a series of steps that it takes for people to position themselves to be ready and to look ready for those partnerships. So created 7 steps because they're for many people, they judge their skill level as far as networking based on comfort level, that they're either comfortable or not. But somebody who's comfortable networking doesn't really make them a great networker. It might just mean that they're very social and enjoy that environment. And on the opposite side of that, there's people that maybe are not super comfortable with those social settings, but fantastic networkers, great listeners, great collaborators, great connectors. And so what I did is I said, if that's not a good indicator of success, what is? How do we help people predictably get success through networking? So the 7 steps, first step is having clarity, understanding who you are authentically, who are you really, and what do you offer? How do you provide solutions for other people? But taking it a step further is who can connect you to those people. From a networking standpoint, who can connect you to those people? So from a sales standpoint, a lot of times it's what's your avatar, who you're looking to sell. With networking, yeah, understand that, but take it to the next level of who can connect you to that person. Secondly is having the right mindset, which the game of poker is just one element of mindset. Just understand that's a lot bigger. There's another saying that I like, that a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. It doesn't hurt us to help somebody else. In fact, if you put 2 candles together, it's bigger. You put 3, it's bigger. The more candles you put together, it creates a taller flame. And guess what? If you lit a bunch of people's candles and yours ever went out, there's always somebody that's willing to relight your candle if something was ever to happen. So having the right mindset of what networking really is. Third is getting all your systems and tools in place. Oftentimes people don't feel confident or competent networking because they don't have a LinkedIn set up. They don't have a website. They don't have a calendar app. They don't know how to manage their business cards as they come in. Maybe they don't even have business cards. But as they get all these things ready, it positions them to where they're a lot more comfortable and confident and competent because they have their tools ready. It's kind of like if you put me into a salsa dance weekend, like a dance party or something, I don't know how to salsa dance, and I would be completely uncomfortable, and I would find almost any excuse to not go. That's how people look at networking. But if you gave me some lessons and brought me in, I'd be more likely to go and probably even more likely to have a good time. And that's where I look at getting your systems and tools in place. Step 4 is right in the middle of the 7-step process, which is getting out and meeting people, getting out to the events, getting out to online or in-person events. Again, that's the dance party. That's where now people have the competence to be there. Now, once they meet people, it's like, what do I do? I got all these business cards. What do I do next? So after that is building the relationship. So that's step 5 is building relationship. A lot of people understand the concept of building relationship, but don't equate it to a bank account, to where building a relationship is like building up your bank account. You can't make a withdrawal until you make a deposit. So the more we deposit, the easier it becomes to ask for a referral, the easier it becomes to ask for an appointment, for a meeting, for a one-to-one. And people are more likely to say yes. Just like you see these, these fail wedding proposals on social media. And the people oftentimes they ask prematurely. You should almost know the answer 100% if you're going to pop the question. But how many times do people in business pop that question and they haven't built enough relationship to even know what the answer is going to be? So building relationships. Step 6, building your personal brand. So Rob will appreciate it. Building your personal brand is super important because that's the reputation that precedes you. That's your social proof of people looking at what you do, leading to step 7, which is your collaborations and partnerships. However, even though everyone wants to meet that person, when that person looks back at you, what do they have to look back at? They're going to look at your LinkedIn. They're going to look at your social profiles because that might be all they have to go off of. And what will they see? Will they see somebody that looks like they could be a potential partner, somebody they can trust? So the analogy I like to paint as far as building your network and the value of it is if you were to ask somebody if somebody was to ask you to borrow your car and they didn't have a car, or their car was an absolute beater and it still got food wrappers on the floor, what's the chances you're going to hand the keys over when you don't have any social proof that they're going to take care of your car? You're probably not going to hand the keys over. However, if that person that was asking to borrow your car had the same, or maybe even the same car, but way cleaner or nicer, or they have a nicer car than you, it doesn't guarantee you'll hand the keys over, but it's a lot more likely that you will. And your network, just having a network by itself is social proof. I'm not talking about just having more numbers for the sake of numbers, but you having a network, people are more likely to let you into their network. Is what's happening when you're collaborating and networking up, is you're getting to other people's networks. And when they see that you have one, you have your brand, they're more likely to let you in. So those are the 7 steps. And the reason we create is that if there's a breakdown and people aren't seeing success, we can now look back and say, okay, where is the breakdown along these 7 steps? Usually people aren't missing all of them. They may be missing 2, 3, 1, but either way, it keeps them from getting that partnership that they're looking to create. So hopefully that's helpful.
Absolutely was, for sure. Yeah. Well, we appreciate you, Rob. I'll throw it to you for a moment here, and yeah, we'll wrap things up here.
Yeah, so really great stuff. We appreciate Chris coming here, and actually, Chris has brought some more value to the show and to our viewers. Just to thank you all for showing up. Chris is going to show you how to get your networking IQ with a detailed breakdown to instantly discover your strengths and opportunities to effectively grow your network and business. Just go to chrisborja.com. I just put it right there on the screen. And get in touch with Chris and find out how to do this. This is, by the way, this is not natural, and most people don't teach it. People like Chris teach dumb people like me dumb in terms of social interaction, how to do it effectively, because most people are not taught this stuff. So get in touch with Chris. Chris, we thank you so much for coming by. And don't forget, make sure you're marking your calendars and getting on LinkedIn and link up with all of us, but also make sure you're getting on the Master Connector page, like that page, and stay tuned for episode 136, Wednesday, October 25th. Stay in the course with Julie Riga. We're going to have more great insights on how you can level up in life, level up in business, all these little basic skills that most people overlook. We're going to teach you how through the interaction with our guests here and everything. And please visit the masterconnector.show to get a list of all the upcoming episodes that are coming up with the people that we have in line to teach you what you need to level up. And as always, we want to make sure that we're equipping you as well. You know, the things that Steve learned along the way in order to help him level up in life. You know, we want you to be able to do that as well. So we want you to make sure you're reaching out and getting Steve's book. And I have a copy right here. I always keep it with me. But The Tao of the Master Connector. This is Steve Spiro's book, The Way an Introvert Became a Master Connector. You can too. We'll put that information in the chat for you. So pick it up. Chris, thank you so much for visiting. We appreciate all your wisdom. Make sure you're linking up with him, everybody. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your day as we close it out right here with the Master Connector Show. Thank you for coming, everybody.
You know, he challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn, engagement being the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome that?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro is live on air.